Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeffery and I come before you guys today to talk about an environmental issue. An issue that we have all heard about, yet none of us truly understand. Over the past decade, global warming has been considered the greatest threat to the environment, responsible for rising sea levels, rising temperatures, and decreasing air quality. Over the past few years, we have been taking initiative, and luckily our governments have been getting involved in this problem. I am not here to deny that that is a problem, nor am I deeming the actions that we are taking unnecessary for this problem. I am here, though, to make the claim that global warming is not the biggest threat to our environment. The trash islands in the Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans are large accumulations of non-biodegradable trash. Over the years, this trash island has been increasing, and unfortunately, the negative effects have been increasing as well. I am here to make the major claim that the trash islands, specifically the Great Garbage Patch, or the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, are a larger threat to the environment than global warming is, and it is because of three main reasons. Trash island is increasing the number of illnesses among humans. Trash island is damaging the ocean animal population rapidly. And number three, unfortunately, there is no plan to address it anytime soon. Trash island, when we think about it, we often don't think that the trash in the middle of the ocean is going to affect us here on land. Unfortunately, that is not true. Trash island is composed mainly of plastic. Plastic is non-biodegradable, and unfortunately, so is the chemicals inside of it. The chemicals include DDT and PCP. These chemicals are actually extremely toxic, and they linger in the water. Small fish mistaken small particles of plastic, small pieces of plastic for food, and they eat it. Well, the chemicals that they digest don't digest all the way, and all of a sudden, the toxic chemicals get stored in their fat. A larger fish eats the smaller fish, a larger predator eats that fish, and the chemicals get transferred on and on until it reaches our dining room tables. We are consuming plastic. Scientists have found that in 9% of the fish caught and consumed just in the Pacific Ocean, there have been found plastic concentrations in it. Now, these chemicals such as DDT and PCP have been linked to various illnesses, including infertility, cancer, organ failure, and even the common food poisoning. Now, global warming, going back to global warming, it is a threat to our physical health. However, it is a lot more easily adaptable to. Fish is a staple in our food and diets. It is hard to adapt, knowing that there is a danger along with it. There is, some tribes out there that rely on fish. It's extremely difficult to adapt to, and I think that because of that, it is greater than global warming. My point number two, trash island is damaging the animal population rapidly. Now, we think that the chemicals that are affecting us as humans don't affect the animals underneath. In reality, it affects them even worse. The animals underneath consume plastic in a larger concentration, and they experience the same exact effects as humans do, with actually one extra threat. The marine animal population faces the physical trash itself. What do I mean? Small fish get stuck in plastic. We have all seen those pictures. Birds mistake sharp objects for food and cut themselves. Sharks mistake large debris and trash for food and choke on it. And in the process called ghost fishing, dolphins, whales get stuck in discarded nets. So not only are the chemicals threatening them, they don't even have to consume plastic in order to be threatened by it. And unfortunately, animal population has been decreasing rapidly. Over the course of a year, conservationists have estimated over 100,000 mammals and birds have died. This does not even include fish. Fish have been estimated to be over in the millions. Trash island has been a big factor for marine animals being annually admitted to the endangered species list. For example, the loggerhead sea turtle, admitted in 1990. To this day, it's still endangered. It's only a matter of time before the endangered species list starts adding up, and it's only a matter of time before the endangered species list turns into an extinct species list. Now, sometimes the severity of the problem doesn't always rely on the statistics of the past. Sometimes it relies in the statistics of the future. There is no plan to address this. The ocean is boundaryless. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is surrounded by China, Japan, North America, and Australia. No one is taking custody for this problem. No one is researching funding. No one is even, it's a game of pointing fingers right now. This problem is just going to grow. The trash island last measured is equivalent to twice the size of Texas by a scientist called Charles Moore. Charles Moore has made the claim that it is expected to double in size within 10 years. In certain areas, it is 9 feet deep, and the cumulative weight has been up to 7 million tons. Those numbers are expected to double as well. So, in recap, these problems are escalating out of control. Our human health is being damaged, our animal population is rapidly decreasing, and unfortunately there is no end in sight. So by introducing you guys to some of these statistics, I hope that you guys will agree with me that the trash islands are a greater threat than global warming is. Thank you.
All right, Jeffrey, the proposition's very clearly identified. You have an excellent preview of what the supporting structure is going to be. When you get to that structure, I thought you had good transitions between the points. You usually do a nice job explaining each of the points as you go along. But I think that you're relying a lot on the explanations to make the argument without necessarily providing the proof. And so that's the place where I think there's the biggest problem. You make references to chemicals that are out there. You mentioned DDT and PCP. I know what DDT is. I know what PCP is. How the PCP is getting out there in the ocean, I don't know, because all those dealers out there, they don't want to waste it that way. There may be other chemicals that also have these kinds of alphabet soup type names that are getting a little bit confused in here. Part of the problem is there's not any source citation for any of this information, and I think that's problematic. You mentioned, the whole food chain. The fish eat the fish. The fish eat the particles. The fish who eat the particles get eaten by other fish. They get eaten by other fish, and then humans in turn get those kinds of things. But I don't get any data that talks about human contamination, people getting sick, or any threat to humans from that per se. That's a little bit weak. I did have one statistic, and I don't know where it came from. It sounded like you said 9% of the fish have these plastic things in there. I assume when they are consumed by people, but that was a little bit unclear also. You're paraphrasing something that you read instead of citing it specifically and quoting it directly, and that's a problem. And one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing when you're making an argument like that is make sure that you've got the evidence, you're citing it correctly and completely. The notion that people can't live without fish, I think there's a better argument than you've got here. You basically have a few tribes who can't adapt without having fish. But I think there's a bigger argument that says that the health of the ocean is, what determines the health of the planet and the health of the world in general. And part of it is the food chain kind of thing, but part of it may have an effect on other parts of the environment. You never really discuss those kinds of issues, and I think that it's a little bit underdeveloped as a consequence. You did have one piece of factual data about 100,000 mammals that have died. It was not quite clear that they died from plastic. I assume that that's what you meant. And again, that's another place where I should have gotten a source citation for that kind of material. The example of the loggerhead turtle, I think, is a good illustration. Again, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the loggerhead turtle and that it's dying because of the plastic. Again, this should be a direct quote on that. The one place where I got at least a paraphrase, but it's still, it sounds like a paraphrase, it's not a direct quote, but at least it's got a source citation, is the stuff from Charles Moore talking about the size of the garbage patch. That, I think, was a little bit more clearly cited than anything else in the speech. You do an excellent job speaking to the audience. You're very direct in the way you're communicating, and I thought you had a very good summary and exit line of the speech, so it sounds good. It just, there you are. The content, I think, is a little bit thin when it comes to evidence. And it's not even that you don't have evidence, because I think you probably have information, but it's not being cited in the speech appropriately. Okay, thank you.